I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, September the 13th, where corn and Kansas City wheat were both down hard on the futures on Wednesday. And you wonder why that is? Well, it's because Wednesday's feeder flash was entitled Plentiful Corn and Winter Wheat Grazing, and it would just wreck the market. That really wasn't what it is. This little report's not big enough to make that big of an impact, but if you guys keep watching and sharing with your friends, maybe someday we'll be big enough to push things a little bit, but I'll always push them in the right way, I promise. But no, corn and Kansas City wheat were down hard because of the bearish crop production report that come out, USDA's report that come out on Wednesday there. Pegged corn yields at 181.3 bushels to the acre. That was up nearly 3 bushels just from August estimate, 2.9 there. And that's giant for just a 1 month move. But it's up 4.7 bushels the acre on the average yield compared to last year. And that's a major deal there. But we've been talking about that. You know, everybody we talk about that's been cutting some high moisture corn, just the way things are looking, we know it's going to be big, and it's probably going to be more than that. But just think about that. On the average, 181 plus bushels. You know, and most people, including me, have never even been out whenever they were cutting 200 bushel corn. You know, people talk about it, but I tell you what, it really takes a heavy duty field to average 200 bushels. But you know, on the whole average there, 181, that's fantastic. But you know, it hurt. It didn't. The beans are being jostled around by a bunch of other things, but Kansas City wheat down really hard because I tell you what, the conditions to get that wheat sowed in the southern plains have been fantastic. We had a lot of rain there in places in western Oklahoma there a week or 10 days ago, and now it's gotten where they can get out in the fields now, but it looks like maybe they might get some more moisture after they get it sowed. Most everybody's got it done here in the Texas Panhandle. I was coming back from Nebraska and come down through southeast Colorado, and could already see a green horizon on several fields out there that looked like they were going to be really good. But quite a bit of move there on your grain markets. But let's look at the board on cattle. October live cattle futures up $2.17 on Wednesday. 10 today at 111.47. December was up 160 at 115.25. October feeder cattle up 257 at 155.02. And September, which was lightly played, up 2.5 at 154.62. Mention your grains there. December corn was down 14.25 cents to end the day at 352.5. And December Kansas City wheat down 16 cents, still up there at 506.75. Very little to talk about in the fat cattle trade. You know, through Tuesday there was about less than 3,000 head of cattle, and then Wednesday was even slower because the board was up so big. Your sellers just decided that they're going to hold on a little tighter and maybe try to get a little bit more money this week. And then of course your packers weren't ready to come to their milk that quick. But on that less than 3,000 that sold early this week in the 5-area feeding region, very little live trade, but some at 107. Most of it's been from 170 to 172 dressed, and that would be steady to a touch stronger. And with the board performing like it did on Wednesday, I would say that we're in for a buck or two more, and maybe we saw that bottom out there week before last, and man, maybe we've grabbed a hold of something going north, and it looks like it might be. But let's look at some of your other markets there. Hogs, you know, if swine fever wasn't bad enough overseas, now this Hurricane Florence that's coming in is really putting an impact on the hogs. There's a lot of hog production right around North Carolina there. You know, the old Tar Heel pack right in there. A lot of hogs being raised in that country. You know, if they get significant flooding in there, it could wipe out a lot of hogs. And I tell you what, that hog market is really responding to that. And that's probably what drug your fat cattle on up a little bit. But the feeder cattle, I would say, was mostly all due to the grains going down so hard from that report. But your real-time index on Beef Market Central late in the day on Wednesday, 150.126, up 19 cents. And then that's a pretty good showing because we had big sales in the Southern Plains. OKC West in El Reno, Oklahoma, 8,900 head. And you might take note of that. They're back full swing now because we got away from the holiday week. But look how we're starting to see more calves. And had a good showing of 3,000 calves on Tuesday. And then they had less than 9,000, so about 6,000 head of yearlings. And it's been a lot more than that. They only been getting 1,500 calves and getting, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 yearlings. But we're starting to see where every week a higher percentage of your runs and your auctions are going to be calves, and the weights are going to be backing up, you know, of course. But on that OKC West run of 8,900, feeder steers $3 to $5 higher. Starting to see some quotes coming out of El Reno and places around there in the central parts of Oklahoma that compete with some of those sandhill sales up in Nebraska and some of those farmer feeder sales in Iowa. Really some strong markets coming out of that country now. Feeder heifers $1 to $3 higher. If you remember, the calves on Tuesday were $1 to $3 higher. Look at this report, automated report on Cattle Market Central there. You see they had over 6,000 head on the receipts. Let's look at some of these weight classes of steers. 1,001 head of 6-weight steers in El Reno averaged 674 with an average weighted average price $157.83. That was over $8 higher than the weighted average price from the week before. 1,220 head of 7-weight steers averaged 756, $152.90. And somewhere between $2 and $3 higher there on the weighted average, which is not really where you get your trend. I would rather get a trend on a load compared to a load the week before, but you know, you can't always do that. But this is a pretty good indicator, I think. And about 900 head of 8-weight steers, 840 pounds at 146.51. All of those real strong weighted averages. That's including the plainer cattle, fleshier full cattle, but that's the way it ought to be because all those cattle are going into the feedlot and they're all going to be fed and they're all a commodity. Heifers, 846 head of 6-weight heifers average 644, 148.14, over $2 higher than the weighted average of previous week. And over 1,050 head of 7-weight heifers average 744 at 141.83, also a strong showing. Dodge City, Kansas, back out of the mud, but everybody's busy sowing wheat up there too. But 2,600 head, feeders there steady to $4 higher. I want to talk about some markets out east there, and just think about how far that is from a major feedlot and how well they're selling. Bluegrass Stockyards, Albany, Kentucky, 118 head of steers in the ring. Average 847 pounds at 153.80. And you know some guys that like to order some 5-weight calves out of the southeast. Sometimes they get a little nervous about ordering them because it takes the guys, you know, a day or two to get a load put together just like they want. And if they stand around long, then that take a chance on them getting stale. And then by the time they get them to you, sometimes they got a little shipping fever. Well, at Hardin County Stockyards in Savannah, Tennessee, you can buy a whole potload of 5-weight steers, been running together. 87 head of them, weigh 588 pounds, bring 162. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.